Jamaica's special economic zone regime, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic, has become a beacon and an island of calm in a turbulent ocean. The SEZ regime represents for Jamaica's economic independence a policy instrument which will create a haven for nearshore manufacturing, distribution, outsourcing services, and so much more, ready to serve the 1 billion person market in the Americas and beyond. Similar to Jamaica becoming a shining example for macroeconomic stability and debt reduction under the austere IMF program, we must now, through our SEZ regime, do the same to boost investor confidence as well as promote sustainable economic development, growth, and quality job creation. This is at the heart of Sustain-A-Livity, a concept and way of life being promoted and practiced by us here at the Special Economic Zone Authority. Sustain-A-Livity embraces the United Nations Industrial Development Organization's inclusive and sustainable industrial development 4 principles, which are 1. Advancing economic competitiveness, 2. Creating shared prosperity, 3. Safeguarding the environment, and 4. Strengthening knowledge and institutions. At the authority, we have taken it a bit further by adding supporting the rule of law, transparency, and accountability in a bid to highlight the importance of proper governance. So come with us as we take you on this journey of Sustain-A-Livity and the Jamaica Special Economic Zone regime.
Livity for I is a philosophy that defines the way of life at the Jamaica Special Economic Zone Authority, where health, happiness, and wellness coexist, culminating into a family-centric environment that caters to the entire being. Livity for I provides the 4 pillars on which the authority stands.
We are ignited with a passion, a sense of duty, to serve our country through honing our knowledge and skill sets.
We are inspired by the challenge to transform the socio-economic landscape of Jamaica by 2030.
To accomplish this mammoth task, we are encouraged to be innovative in our approach to problem solving by perpetually providing best-in-class solutions consistent with the future needs of the society.
Therefore, we will instill these attributes through world-class, value-adding service delivery that transcends our geographical borders, ensuring the well-being of all our stakeholders.
Join us on this exciting journey as we listen to our other team members and their life-changing experiences through Livity for I.
In the nature of my responsibilities as an urban planner, the concept Livity for I means having a wholesome view on all projects to incorporate the natural environment with the built environment to ensure we have a clean and healthy sustainable development.
An embodiment of hope and humility at the sound of encouragement.
A way of life, expressing how a person should live on a daily basis.
The welfare and wellness of the JSEZA staff that inspires a loving and spiritual energy.
A culture which encompasses wellness among its staff through the daily inspiration of those around us and the ignition of our passion.
As the Human Resource Development Manager at the Authority, the Livity for I philosophy has ignited my confidence to communicate this message to all my team members so that they are excited, engaged, and motivated to meet and exceed set targets.
Livity for all, Livity for I.
Hi everyone, my name is Amorley Hibbert and I'm the Senior Corporate Service from the Jamaica Special Economic Zone Authority. I have with me my colleagues who will be introducing themselves.
Ainsley Brown, Senior Director, Regulations, Policy Monitoring and Enforcement.
Hi everyone, my name is Sanvia Martin Bailey and I'm the Head of the Technical Services and Infrastructure Unit.
Hello, I am Licia Grant and I'm the Head of Business Partner and Support Services Unit. But Amorley, tell us a little bit more about your Sustain-A-Livity concept that we'll be discussing today.
You mean our Sustain-A-Livity concept? Because we all sat down and developed this great philosophy among ourselves. And it came from the sustainable development goals that we adopted about 2 years ago, Ainsley?
About 3 actually.
About 3 years ago. Yeah. And we wanted the Sustain-A-Livity development goals to be a part of our lifeblood. Yeah. And to be a part of our lifeblood, it needs to fit right with our culture. And we wondered, how is it that we could find the exact words that would encapsulate this sustainability development goals. Yeah. And we looked around Jamaica and we said, okay, what other word we could use to juxtapose to create that feeling. And we borrowed the word livity from the Rastafarian religion. And you guys know how that went.
I remember that very clearly. And once we came up with livity, I remembered it being resonated right throughout the discussions. It's something that everyone grabbed onto. And we thought that it would be a perfect opportunity to immerse sustainable along with livity. And that's how we came about with Sustain-A-Livity.
And livity is really, to break it down further, because the Rastafarian culture, it means a sense of well-being in terms of spiritual, mental, physical, love for each other. Harmony. Yeah. I mean, it's encapsulated just perfectly, and we thought that Sustain-A-Livity is the one. Yeah. That is the one that that is the philosophy. We felt it in our blood that we had a great brand going forward.
It's simply just us.
Yeah.
It's Jamaica and it's us.
And if you remember, when we first came up with Sustain-A-Livity, we thought, okay, how does this fit into what we do at the Jamaica Special Economic Zone Authority? When you think about how it can be incorporated in your environmental regulations, in governance, as well as from an economic perspective, not to mention the great social benefits that comes along with incorporating
Exactly, because when you say social benefits, we look at it is our people. What are we doing with our people to create this sustainable, creating shared prosperity?
Right.
And what is shared prosperity? Shared prosperity is generating jobs, decent jobs, and also we can create economic opportunities for the bottom percentile of our people.
Yeah, I'd like to piggyback a little bit on that, Amorley, because when you think about sustained productivity improvements, you're thinking about technological advancement, business investment, creating decent jobs, as you rightfully said, as well as workforce development. Because when you look on impoverished society, one of the main factors for driving poverty in those regions is as a result of a lack of opportunities to acquire gainful entrepreneurial and professional skills.
So the most important thing then that we at the authority recognize is that we need to do our workforce development. And it came at a stage that in terms of Ainsley, who have done significant research in the area of priority areas.
Priority industries, yes.
Industries. In terms of how, what are the jobs or what are the skill sets that are needed for these emerging economies, because you have the digital economy, you also have the green economy, which is a whole new ball game.
And the blue economy, we can't forget the blue economy.
Okay, the blue, that is Ainsley, so
well, we're a small island developing state, so
what is the blue economy, Ainsley?
We're an island, so we're surrounded by the Caribbean Sea, so we earn from the sea. So we can't forget that. Also, Jamaica, we're known as very creative people, so we have to remember the orange economy. So all of that has to be factored into Sustain-A-Livity, everything that we do.
Yes, and it ties in with the SDG goals.
Creative economy. Orange economy is a creative economy plus creative industries, and also includes sports.
Right.
So, you know, we are known for our track and field prowess. All
and
of
that
that has
is
to
an area that we need to harness more.
Most definitely. Most definitely.
But we're touching a little bit on innovation and technology. But when you think about SEZ developments and how we can immerse technology and innovation, we're touching on a little bit of what Sanvia does.
Yes, that is Sanvia's baby, right?
Yeah.
Well, when you think about it, the built environment is one of such that is required to sustain just about any business's industry in general. And we have so many different or innovative things that have come on stream, and we need to merge both. So when you think about the built environment, the Internet of Things, using technology to drive cities and communities, it's very, very important that we consider that we need to expand our horizons here in Jamaica and try to develop or plan our cities in such a way that we are at the level with everyone else around the world.
Right, because the paradigm of doing business has shifted, especially since the onset of this pandemic, right? But I'd like to take a step back to workforce development and incorporating Sustain-A-Livity and just the various workforce development initiatives that we have coming up. Because when an investor thinks about where their next investment location is, workforce and human capital is
key.
When you have a highly skilled, highly educated workforce, it means that you have reduced waste and heightened efficiency. And for any investor, that means that they'll be better able to compete, whether locally or on the global scale.
So, as the authority, we are devising ways how best to ramp up, because we have no time and we have investors knocking at our doors right now. We have no time to fill the gap that are recognized right around the country. And in doing that, we thought an easy way to do it, and well, a more efficient way to do it, is to form partnerships.
True.
And these partnerships we have had with the Heart Trust and STA. And funny thing is that after having forming the partnership with Heart, we looked around and said, okay, if Heart does not have the necessary capacity to take us to the next level, we are going to pair Heart Trust with the DIT education unit out of Europe. And they have been so helpful in, they're on board, and they are helping us to build programs which will fill a lot of the skill sets that are needed to take care in the blue economy, the digital world, the green economy. We have been working assiduously to ensure that our youth first is definitely trained, and in doing this we think that we should be going into the secondary schools, starting from the secondary school, the community colleges, the UTEX, the UE. We are approaching all of those persons to have a comprehensive.
And speaking about partnerships, Amorley, it's critical, as you said, that as an example of Jamaica being ready or putting ourselves forward as being able to train to industry needs. A good example is the project that JAMPRO is undertaking right now with the BPO Association. So you have industry coming together with government, with educational institutions, all coming together, working together to bring in a partnership to deliver workforce development. And that is just one example, and more more to come. I know you have a lot.
But even coming out of that, Ainsley, to dovetail into that, we have a vibrant apprenticeship program.
True.
And our apprenticeship program, I was corrected the other day when one of our directors said to us that we don't have apprenticeship or internships because these work that we're giving our interns is not normal because the kind of development, it is like a holistic thing. We have they're on a program and they are able to see how the real different industries in our space operate and how if they can themselves even go and study some more in order to be in these other sectors, new sectors that they were not aware of.
Correct.
And so we also in the apprenticeship program earlier on, we had been working closely with CMU. I know that Ainsley had a little stint at the CMU and doing their part in order to at least sensitize our people, our students.
And our CEO, don't forget our CEO.
Yes,
Dr.
and our
Deans.
CEO, Dr. Deans, he played a great part in sensitizing our youth to the new logistics sectors.
Ainsley and Amorley, all of this sounds like exciting initiatives that we have coming up for workforce development. I mean, Jamaica has already established itself in the service industry. We flourish well in it, and I'm sure that with these initiatives we can go further, making Jamaica a very viable and attractive location for investment. But it's not just workforce development and the economic benefits. It's about workforce development and Sustain-A-Livity and how that wraps up into how we develop our zones. So smart cities, I know, is something that we hope to achieve in Jamaica. Sanvia, you can speak a little bit more on it. I know this is your area of expertise.
All right. When we consider the concept of Sustain-A-Livity, we think about the fact that Jamaica has, for its motto, out of many one people. And that's important to us. And we ought to be as inclusive as we can with the business of SEZs and the regime itself. Outside of that, though, we've got a very talented workforce, persons who are youngsters at this point in time who are very creative and who see things a little bit different at this point. Creatives who love to work in a space that is inclusive, for them to learn just about everything. And in creating our smart cities, we ought to consider that the community should be a cohesive one, more that is or what is required in these communities is almost like a mixed development sort of situation where they have the facilities of the coffee shops to sit with their computers and maybe work into a space that they're not all bogged down and it gets them or it drives them in a different way. In so doing, we've got to think about green spaces, cities without slums, the fact that we require infrastructure such as water, sanitation, and all this should be driven by technology. Special economic zones, or when we're planning for special economic zones, we need to incorporate the concept of smart cities. We ought to think about this type of spatial planning and the infrastructure planning that is required for such. It drives what happens in the zones. If you are considering a cluster development, the sort of services that are required to support such. Complementary to each other, Ainsley, and you're well aware, you've done so many studies in that regard. One of the things, though, is that this becomes attractive to an investor. The fact that our SEZ regulations speak to the fact that we need to have the required amenities and the required facilities, whether it be a police post, a university, community centers, all the different things that are required. And Ainsley can get into that a little bit more about how we govern the space.
Yes, what I want to add though is just a little slightly different perspective.
Right.
And it really encapsulates Sustain-A-Livity. When you think of workforce development, you know, it's really a form of linkage with the domestic economy. From a special economic zone to the domestic economy is where we get the technology, the management, and the knowledge transfer happening in the sense of building our people, building the capacity of our people. And it's really a conduit or enhancer to sustain the livity.
Yes,
really.
That's
right?
correct.
So that there's positive livelihoods, positive living, and all of that. But really and truly, when you think about it, Sustain-A-Livity is about doing business in Jamaica, doing business
in paradise.
Right, well, guess what, Ainsley and colleagues? Jamaica is the place for doing business in paradise because, as we're all aware, our culture, we are world renowned for our culture and what it represents. But more recently, you know, we've been gaining a reputation as being a place for safe, secure, resilient investments, right? When you think about the different zones that we are proposing to create, we know that investment facilitation needs to be at the core of what we do so that we can harness some of these investment potentials, right? At the Jamaica Special Economic Zone Authority, you are well aware, and I'm sure I'll take the opportunity to advise others as well. We do have a very big mandate that surrounds business facilitation in so much that it's embedded in our laws that governs our very existence. We have our Business Acceleration Center as well as our aftercare and business development teams for any investment opportunities that should come to our table. But Sanvia, you tell us, how do you foresee ease of doing business, facilitating expedited services? How do you see that playing out in some of our future zones?
Well, one of the things at the authority is that once an investor comes and sits with us, give us what their thoughts are, what it is that they hope to achieve, we work with them right throughout their design and the planning.
From the point of concept.
Right. So from that point, we take them through to any of the other authorities or any of the other ministries and departments and agencies, and we get them to sort of hone or to refine what it is that they're doing, as well as to assist them with their approvals and to get that going. And so we have walked with a number of our investors, walked them right through the process, all the way up to their approvals and all the way up to them having their certificates.
Yes. Right, and irrespective of size and location as well, because it could be an SME or a large-scale development that proposes to provide thousands of jobs. That we are dedicated to facilitating our investors throughout the process, throughout the lifetime of the investment in Jamaica. But Amorley, tell me a little bit now about how you see investment being facilitated on a social level within zones.
Well, one of our mandates is that we are supposed to, any zone supposed to have a training facilities in each zone. And the Sustain-A-Livity aspect of it comes across so strongly is that ensuring that you have training facility, what it ensures is transfer of knowledge. Because back in the day, if you may remember, the old free zone setup is that you may have big manufacturers or things coming into Jamaica, teaching individuals just one thing. Just how to build back in the garment thing, you only could build a sleeve, or you could only do a foot of pants or something like that. No one knew. After they left, when you check all those persons, they were not able to build a complete garment,
Correct.
Right.
You understand? So in doing this now, forcing the the persons to have training facilities, ensuring that the trainers are Jamaicans.
Yes.
Right.
Ensuring some form of exchange of knowledge.
Right.
So it resides in Jamaica, so it can be sustainable.
Right,
you
and
know?
it goes back to our concept of Sustain-A-Livity, it being a wholesome experience, whether from an economic environment. And notwithstanding, we do have governance as well. It is not without boundary, it's not without structure, but I'll ask Ainsley to speak about it.
Yes, one of a critical piece of advice that we got a few years ago from our Singaporean friends was to use our regulation to facilitate, attract and facilitate investment. Oftentimes, when people hear governance, they think, you know, the big stick, the government lording over you, the government interfering in business and being a barrier, bureaucracy, and all of these things. But one of our colleagues often says bureaucracy is not necessarily a bad thing. Inefficient bureaucracy is the bad thing. So as long as you're efficient, everything is good. And you know, as part of the whole Sustain-A-Livity concept, we also embrace a concept of educate, facilitate, regulate, and I think it's in that order that we do these things. Educate our various different stakeholders, we facilitate, and then we move into regulations. And this permeates throughout everything we do, from our applications, processing, to our aftercare, to infrastructure development and services, that to workforce development. It is right across the entire authority. And you know, Licia alluded to it, but I'm going to quote from our act, because some people know and some people don't know. And I just inform everybody that, you know, the authority is mandated by law. Let me repeat that. We're mandated by law to be business facilitators. And to quote, in the performance of its functions, operate on business principles. So we have no choice. We have no choice. If we're going to obey the law, which we do, we have to, you know, we have to facilitate investments, and we do so through regulation, as the Singaporeans advise us to do.
But Ainsley, you know, some persons have this concept that you can't facilitate and regulate at the same time. How do you strike that balance, or how do you foresee us continuing to strike that balance whenever investors come to our table?
There is a necessary tension there, and that's unavoidable. You cannot get around it. Right?
It's a good thing Ainsley and I are best friends.
There's a necessary tension there.
Don't we know that?
Right? However, there are various lines, various rules that are bendable, and there are, of course, rules that are not breakable. None of them are breakable, but there are some that are more bendable than others. And provided that you bend towards the positive.
Be careful, all you bend there.
Bend towards the positive.
I remind you of that they are bendable.
Bendable, yes, bendable, but
That's a new word,
but not
bendable.
breakable. It's all about being agile in terms of regulating, especially now we're in the 4th industrial revolution. We can't be stuck, stiff and static. We have to be able to, COVID has shown us that we have to, you know, be able to be nimble and be able to shift when the time or situation calls for it.
And just let me interject here. One of the very most important thing is that we're trying to sustain commerce. Yeah, you always want to at least consider what's happening in a business and to try to see how best you can address some of the issues that they may very well be having, whether there is a setback at some point in time, whether it's financial issues, whatever it is, that the authority is always here to consider and to think without breaking the law.
Yes. And a perfect example, bendable. A perfect example of that is our MSME policy. Mandated again by law to admit MSMEs, but we also have the major mandate of attracting large investments. But those two things actually work together in synergy. They're not, they don't go counter to each other.
Right.
And you know, we MSMEs, as everybody knows, is the backbone of the global economy and our local economy in Jamaica, and we have to find ways and means and mechanisms to accommodate them. You know, all businesses at some point were MSMEs, but we have created a structure so that our locals, especially our local young entrepreneurs, as Sanvia spoke about, our young people, have an opportunity, have an avenue through which they can, you know, grow and at the same time be born global.
And it's one of the most favorite policy that I have with the SEZ regime, because being on the front line, hearing some of these dreams that persons have, but not necessarily having the capital to start at the point that they really want. The MSME occupant policy is really a great tool that allows persons to establish themselves as SEZs and grow from there into whatever their dreams tell them to be. But it is my favorite tool. It's a favorite for when investors come to the table with myself along with other colleagues, and we do see where we can make significant impact by encouraging a wholesome type of investment to take place within zones, not just large-scale investments, but also from the SME point.
Correct.
Right. So technically, colleagues, we are seeing that it is a holistic. It is the very Sustain-A-Livity. It's a live thing.
Right.
We are. It is a part of our DNA.
Right.
And we have made it a part of our DNA, because as the Ainsley Persons Law, Ainsley. What we have done is engineer that these things are being measured within our very operations, right? So and the saying goes, whatever gets measured gets done. Right? And the fact that we have enshrined all of these 17 sustainable goals in our very operations, and have a philosophy that holds us to it. It is a great thing.
Yes, and it helps in building strong institutions and just having the right things in place to support those developments, those sustainable developments. We're using the word sustainable so much because it's the core of what makes us exist. It's the core of what makes us grow.
For the future.
And for the future.
Generating options for and opportunities for our youths for the future.
But one of the things that we've been talking about, just about all our investors and all of the persons registered with the authority, but Amorley, I thought you would have gone to the point where we also have a CSR program. All of that is all enshrined and linked.
Could I forget that? It's so many things.
Right.
We do have a CSR program, a vibrant CSR program. I touched on the internship program, and a lot of persons used to use the internship as an ad hoc thing. And so we have inculcated it in our very operations, where we must at all times giving back to the youth. We must develop. When we just started the authority, I remember sitting in in that room and devising all of these, operationalize the organization. One of the main mandates we had was that at all times, at the end of this, and to have true sustainability, we need to make sure that our youth at all times is being developed. Because
there are future generations.
There are future.
And we ought to put that into the mix of things.
And surprisingly, because we have the Sustain-A-Livity as our overarching philosophy, but coming out of the Sustain-A-Livity, we came Livity for I.
Right.
And the Livity for I have to do with our people. our people, JSEZA staff,
Yes.
JSEZA team, our people that at all times we are building their capacity in order to deal with those emerging sectors or industries that are coming, because we have to deal internally before we can deal with external. We thought that if I ignite, we are going to bring something the youth, because we're targeting the youth. The youth, those persons that are just coming out of university, we need to ignite their interest. We need to ensure that we do not have a brain drain,
yes.
because
It's a major problem.
and it is a major problem. To be sustainable, we need to make sure that there's an interest out. We will create that interest to let them know, and that is the way, that's why the internship program came out so well, because what you did, you get them before they leave the university so that they can come and see what we are about.
Yes.
We ignite that interest and say, hey, it's not cross the seas alone. We have something coming. There is hope for you here, right? And then, so we ignite. Then we're going to inspire them, because we have to show them the vision. We're going to show them the vision. They have to show the youth. Young people are very visual, you know.
Yes.
And so you have to show them that, you have this emerging, you have camera, the film industry coming up, so you don't have to go to Hollywood in order to be big time actress, because they are coming right here to create something. They have the agro-processing thing coming about, the industry is coming on. You have
drones,
3D
printing,
I mean, there are several digital green economies that are coming, and all they have to do is just stay here
opportunity
and train up, because some of them may need to, even though you're coming from a university, the programs are not yet in, so they will need to maybe upskill, reskill in order to take the opportunity that is going to come, that is arising. So that will be the inspire, and then they have to innovate. These are bringing up challenges. These emerging jobs, and so there are going to be challenges. And think, how are you going to be innovative, creative? You have to be creative in order to build stuff. To build some program, build something. How are you going to deal with it? Take on this opportunity. And at the end of the day, what we're going to do? Instill it. We're going to document it. We're going to put it as a program. We're going to ensure that we share it with others and the wider Jamaica.
It becomes part of the overall fabric.
The overall fabric of our society. So you see, it's a holistic way we have taken it, and our people, our team, which I think they have their way of disseminating the whole Livity for I, but that now is the lifeblood of our operation, or we operate within the organization.
Amorley, all of what you said just now, there's one thing that you hinted at that just sits at the front of my mind. When you speak about to ignite, inspire, instill, and innovate, I'm thinking about all the work that we have done at the authority that will allow all of this to be emanated throughout. When I think about innovate, I'm thinking about the P3 industries. Ainsley has done a wonderful job on carrying out some studies as it relates to what we call our priority, prohibited, and permissible industries. Right, Ainsley?
Yes. And team, I should say. And team. And team. To bring in the team. Yes, we looked at what exactly can happen in Jamaica. And we, Jamaica, unfortunately, is famed for doing studies. We study a problem to death. What we're short on oftentimes is implementation. So rather than commission a new study, we just did a super study of everything and looked for the connectors. We love to say connecting the dots within the authority, so we look for the connectors. Where are the overlaps? And from there, we then looked at it from the perspective of the blue economy, orange economy, right? and other types of
green economy,
the logistics centered economy. We looked at it from different perspectives. The green, oh yes, Sanvia, yes, the green economy. You cannot forget the green side of things. And we brought it all together and said, okay, here are our targets. Here are the skills that we need in terms of training. These are the types of infrastructure we're going to need. These are the type of businesses that we need to target. In fact, specific names that we need to target. So please come and invest in Jamaica. So we looked at it from a comprehensive overall perspective, and you know, we're going out and attracting, facilitating, cultivating everything. These different investments, different types of industries, some of which are new, some of which are not so new, but we'll be doing different things. So you know, we
innovative.
Yes. So we have agro-processing. We grow, you know, wonderful agricultural produce, but we need to take it to another level. You know, you now have the trend of meatless meat. Well, we have
meatless meat.
Yes, meatless meat, or you know, I don't want to call any brands, but meatless meat. And you know, we have wonderful different types of nuts and different types of produce that can be combined together to give a, you know, to sustain the liberty and give you that strength, you know. So we have that there.
Yes, but Ainsley, one of the things that I don't want to get lost on our listeners is the fact that this study, it's a circular sort of way that you looked on it, in that everything is interconnected.
Correct.
There are linkages backward and forward, and so even for some of what we hope to achieve, we also establish that there are some partnerships that are necessary for certain standards being adhered to within zones. I know Sanvia has been doing some work with some of our environmental regulations, our certification.
Well, just to say that one of the big things for us is always, and as built environment professionals, you always want to consider the use of guidelines and standards at all times. Certification is important. For any type of material, you want to know that it can withstand the effects of whether weather, persons, or usage, or anything like that, that it's there. Having standards, as Ainsley had pointed out too, is very important, because it says to your investor that we are on top of our game, and that we want to ensure that we've got the best of the best. And it creates a sort of win-win. So when we think about, just recently in February, the authority got its membership with the United States Green Building Council, where we'll sort of get our staff up and trained in lead practices and lead certification, which is it's applied worldwide. It's with the United States, but it is used throughout the world. The next thing that we've done is that we are also a member of the World Free Zone Organization, and they have a green certification program that we will get our members, or member developers, and our occupants and zone users to start thinking about getting their operations as ready. You know, it helps to build. The thing is that it helps to build a sort of branding. With the international branding and appeal. You know, once persons know that you've got, you know, a sort of green standards, then it becomes even easier for a developer to rent you know, their facilities and to have occupants in it.
This is what it's about. It's about a race to the top, not a race to the bottom. It's about sustainable competitiveness for both the country and individual firms. We have to ensure that standards are viewed not as an expense, but really, or standards acquisition, but it's an investment, really. It's an investment that will enhance not just the country, we're biased, we're representing the country, but the company. And when the companies win, we win.
Right.
Yes, and
Yeah.
we too are investing in ourselves at the authority because we right now are going through our ISO assessment
Quality
for
standards.
certification. Right, but some of what you spoke about, Sanvia and Ainsley, the vehicle that we are going to use to administer this to some of our zones will be our aftercare services or our business development team that we have formed at the authority. Now, some of our future projects involves some initiatives with some of our partnering entities in even allowing some of our zones to become ISO certified.
Right.
So in another couple weeks, we have sessions with some of our developers on the importance of quality management system through our ISO consultants. Now, it is our hope that zones will adopt some of these standards because it adds to their marketability, their appeal, as Amorley said,
and
their value.
Yeah.
Right?
It does.
And it also adds to transparency and governance. And I know again that this is an area that Ainsley is very big on, being transparent with everything that we are doing as a country.
Correct. Governance, as I said before, often gets that bad name, but when you think about it, in a nutshell, what is it? It's really just the rules of the game. And what game are we playing? Competitiveness.
Right.
You want to beat the competition. Jamaica wants to beat the competition. Individual companies, firms want to beat the competition.
But there are rules.
But there are rules that you must abide by. And our governance framework is naturally inclusive. It involves many different parties. It involves partnerships with government bodies, the Bureau of Standards for standards.
Yeah.
Even international, the OECD.
Correct. I was getting there. Not forgetting them.
Yes.
But our local partners, the tax administration, customs, but definitely includes the international players, the OECD, the WTO, and such and so. But also, importantly, includes the clients themselves. Their internal rules form part of our governance structure.
So I have a sort of controversial notion, Ainsley, that governance stifles, governance stimulates as opposed to stifles investment.
That's not controversial.
What are your thoughts on that?
That's not controversial. That's a fact. That's a fact. That I have nothing more to say. That's a fact.
I thought you could expound on it.
No, that's a fact. There's nothing more to say. It's a fact.
No, but you would have some investors that say, oh, these rules, these regulations, they are too stringent. They don't allow us the freedom to do what we need to do and get the jobs in and invest the money that we want to invest.
Yeah, but guess what, Lisa? We are presently going through some serious problem. That is in the room, the COVID situation that has taken us and things. We are one of the few countries of investment still going on. We still have maybe not as robust as before, but I'm sure that a lot of persons, especially our BPO sector, is continue doing work. They are open still. With the business continuity plan that we insist that it needs to be a part of their requirement to be a part of the SEC. It is perfectly running right now. It has come to the fore, and we are seeing the importance of such a plan.
So that, as Amorley just said, is a perfect example of oh, you're stifling me, you're stifling me, you're stifling me. Get out of my way so I can create jobs and develop your country. Yes, we want that, but within a certain framework. You must give me a business continuity plan. You must give me a safety and security plan. These things are important. Suddenly, we had a crisis.
And it helps to secure your investment.
True. And suddenly we had a crisis, COVID.
Yes.
Suddenly, there were actual documents. There were things that people could fall back on. So it's not about stifling. It's actually about facilitating investment.
Colleagues, this has truly been an exciting and inspiring discussion. I'm sure based on what we discussed, our listeners will certainly see Jamaica as a business hub for future investors. Amorley, is there anything else that you'd like to say?
Yes, Licia. I too have enjoyed this discussion among my colleagues, and I really believe that we are committed to have a vibrant workforce for all investors, and we are here to meet the needs of you, the investor.
Sanvia?
When we consider our SEZ regime, we need to think about how the built environment affects whether the productivity of the people in it or the environment that it sits in. Importantly, it is, a need. We need to be resilient in this regime. We need to adapt, and we need to mitigate against anything that will affect our environment. Here in Jamaica, we invite investments of all types, certainly within the remits of the priority projects that Ainsley always talks about. And so we are welcoming investors to our regime here. Ainsley?
Yes, what it's all about today is about sustainable competitiveness. That's what it's about. Governance often gets a bad name, but it is, I don't want to say necessary evil, because then you still end with evil, but it is necessary. And I just want to end with just food for thought. And it's something that we have in the authority, and that's Pearson's law. And it says that when performance is measured, performance improves. When performance is measured and reported back, the rate of improvement accelerates. And that's what we want to see in Jamaica, accelerated investments.
Thank you for those closing remarks, colleagues. I truly believe that Sustain-A-Livity is a concept that will drive Jamaica forward. I truly believe that with any future investments and with any adoption of any principles that we are putting forward for Sustain-A-Livity, investors will realize continuous increased returns on investment. Thank you.
What is Sustain-A-Livity? It is the embodiment of an elevated lifestyle whereby people can develop an awareness to expand their work style, quality of life, and spiritual interests, where eco-industrial parks interact and cooperate with the local community to achieve a harmonious living philosophy emanating out of many, one people, to protect the environment and achieve economic prosperity.
Business in paradise, for real, makes you gonna wanna stay. That's how Jamaica makes you feel. Year-long summer sun, shining good fortune, good vibes never done. Step in and see what we mean when we say, I am so nice, doing your business in paradise. Business in paradise, for real, makes you gonna wanna stay. That's how Jamaica makes you feel. Sunlight through the fortune rain, making a rainbow, ending with investment gain. Step in and see what we mean when we say, I am so nice, doing your business in paradise. When we say chill, it's not about winter ice, it's just the cool blue mountain brew that takes you away to a unique place, to inspiration space, to inspire innovation. New ideas is our aim. wanna stay. That's how Jamaica makes you feel. We got natural ability, latest technology for productivity. That's right. Step in and see what we mean when we say, I am so nice. Doing your business in paradise. Business in paradise. For real. Makes you gonna wanna stay. Can't leave. Jamaica makes you feel. Teamwork without stress. Share motivation to produce the best. Step in and see what we mean when we say, I am so nice. Doing your business in paradise. When we say chill, it's not about winter ice. It's just the cool blue mountain blue that takes you away to a unique place, to inspiration space, to inspire innovation, new ideas is our aim. Business in paradise, for real. Makes you gonna wanna stay. How Jamaica makes you feel. It's the kind of atmosphere you won't find it anywhere. To keep your business focus clear. Step in and see what we mean when we say, I am so nice. Doing your business in paradise. Doing your business in